right, July 6, 2021, 10:10 a.m. I hope you are all well. We are tracking Tropical Storm Elsa, which could be just hours away from once again regaining Category 1 hurricane strength that is put out by multiple models this morning. We will get back to that cool view you just saw in a second. First, we're going to take a look at the current stats on Elsa. You can see right here we are at 50 knots or 60 miles per hour, 1,007 millibars. And we are in that, I guess you could say, Goldilocks zone between northern Cuba and, based on the storm's orientation right now, the west coast of Florida. That open bathtub-like water is already having an effect on Elsa. It is actually becoming a bit more organized. We expected this. We talked about this in extent in the previous video yesterday, how just between the gap of Cuba, that northern edge of Cuba right here, and basically any part of Florida, even if it was lined up for the direct southern edge of Florida, there's enough room there for this storm to re-strengthen and actually re-strengthen a significant amount. I'm going to be very clear though, as of right now, they're expecting this to stay as a tropical storm, as you can see represented by the S's here, and then not until it gets to the border of Georgia and South Carolina, already crossing the state of Florida, is it forecast to then be downgraded to a tropical depression. And then we see something we've seen already twice this year, which is not common at all, but yet seems to want to be common this year. That is a storm making landfall down in the Gulf and then re-emerging on the east coast of the United States to then become once again a tropical storm. We had this threat with Bill. We had this issue with Claudette. As we take a look at the radar again, it's pretty easy to see that we are seeing a lot of action in the center part of the storm. Obviously, we saw a lot of it breaking up in a bunch of different spots. It seemed like 3 different smaller storms. And now that this thing is back over that warm Gulf water with minimal land interaction besides the Keys, we are already seeing that bubbling and that building up of those big storms in the middle of it, and that's usually what you see before you get an upgrade. And we're talking just 15 miles an hour is going to put this thing back at a Category 1, so we could be already getting Category 1 wind speeds around the immediate area of the center of this storm, around the Keys. In fact, they've had reports of that upwards of 80 miles an hour, and the flooding is going to be an issue because this thing has a lot of moisture in it. And that is part of the reason why I chose this graphic here, because you can really get a good idea of one of those big storms bubbling out from the middle of the storm, or at least from the slight eastern edge of the storm. We got to remember that upper eastern quadrant of the storm is usually the strongest of what it has to offer, and then underneath it in the lower level clouds you could see the counterclockwise spin going on closer to sea level. All right, and I love those detailed radar charts, but sometimes we need to look at charts like this to really understand some of the issues that obviously Florida is going to be dealing with, and this includes family of mine, so it's very important to me. My grandma lives north of Orlando, so we got to get a little bit of information in here for her and those of you that live also on the east side of Florida, because sometimes there's a lot of confusion about where to go, and sometimes it's just so hard to understand, because many times with a storm like this, if we go back to this chart for just a second, even though it's a tropical storm, possibly a Category 1 that's going to affect the west coast of Florida and then kind of bend over the Panhandle and northern Florida before it gets into Georgia and South Carolina, kind of leaving that southeastern part of Florida out of any sort of immediate danger. But at the same time, when you look at these storms, they are oftentimes wider than the entire state of Florida. So a lot of people ask themselves, okay, how can a storm that's bigger than the state not affect the entire state? And there are answers to that, and the long and short of it is, yes, the entire state of Florida will see some sort of effect from this, but some more so than others. And until that storm is right off the coast, usually, of whatever state it's going for, we really don't have detailed information about what parts of that state are going to get it worse than others. Of course, we have a general idea with our cone of uncertainty, but that's the exact reason for the cone of uncertainty. And in this case, covering a long, big area, especially with the unique state of Florida that sticks way out into the ocean. Even the professionals get it completely wrong sometimes. An example, Hurricane Irma. All right, and we are over here on windy.com now. Very cool website. Has a lot of webcams all over the country you can check out. Some of them get shut down ahead of storms. Some of them actually stay up, which is pretty cool. So we can actually take a look down here, a live view at the Keys right now. The central part of the storm is now past the Keys. That's why you're seeing a semi-lighter look back here. When I was looking at this before, it was very dark, very windy. And now once you start looking up towards Morocco Island, it starts to look a little more dreary there. Those darker clouds are rolling in, and we're starting to see the wind effects on the southwestern edges of Florida. And that's going to continue all the way up through Sarasota, Tampa, Spring Hill. And that's when you're going to start seeing that eastern hook. It could happen a little sooner, putting places like Orlando back in the middle of the storm track after making landfall, or If it happens a little later, we could see more of the Panhandle or Tallahassee getting hit. But then again, when it gets down to this much detail, we really can't tell. With that said, as far as Florida goes, and I'm going to specifically point out DeLand, Florida right here because I love my grandma and I gotta keep her safe. So for those of you that live near DeLand, it's a lucky day for you. But take a look at the forecast. Now this is the eastern coast of Florida above Orlando, in between Orlando and Daytona. And you can see here the worst of it is coming obviously today and tomorrow, but the winds is the key here. You notice the winds don't really get above 12 to 13 miles an hour. And when we move over to Wednesday, it is very similar. You see one little peak during the afternoon between 10 and 1 p.m. where the winds are at the highest over the next 2 days, which aren't that big of a deal compared to tropical storm force. And obviously Florida is known for rain, so nothing out of the ordinary as far as the rain forecast goes. Probably an extra few inches of rain between now and Wednesday, again for DeLand, Florida. And possibly by this time tomorrow, we still may be dealing with this storm just over the coast. It's still got a ways to go, and that means room for strength. And before I let you guys go here, I'm going to show you that the National Hurricane Center and some of the models. All right, my friends, that's what I got for you for now. I have a cool video that I'm just finishing editing for later on this afternoon. I know I said I'd have it out yesterday, but I got caught up with a lot of stuff going on. Very interesting stuff we're going to be talking about, and I just got to figure out the right way to word it, if you know what I'm saying. So any updates that are needed, I will be right here to bring them to you. Keep checking out the Twitter account for even faster updates. My friends, thank you so much for watching. I will be back later on. It is just about 11 a.m. on July 6th, 2021. Thank you all. Be safe. Shout out to Canada. Shout out to Grandma. Love you. Bye-bye. Stop right there, my friends. If you have not already, click that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Click all and you will get all notifications from this channel. And trust me, you won't be disappointed.